Hello, it's Debbie Gilbert here from the Business Awards show, and I'm also the owner and founder of the Best Business Women Awards. And today I am really excited to be joined by Lynne Parker, founder of Funny Women, who not only has won awards herself, but runs her own awards program, which has propelled hundreds of women forwards in their comedy career. And Lynne is going to share lots of information about what she does with Funny Women, what she's been doing for the last 20 years to really promote female comics, and more about some of the courses that she runs. And I recently went on one of those courses. So personal experience that I'm going to share a little bit about that today as well. So welcome, Lynne.
Lovely to be here. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. So 20 years ago, you set up Funny Women. So tell us what on earth Funny Women is about.
Well, I mean, 20 years ago, I ran the first ever event in October 2002. But there was a bit of a journey before that because I had a career in public relations and marketing, familiar, I'm sure, to a lot of your listeners. But I ended up working with a very misogynist comedy promoter who, in short, told me that he never booked any women when I asked him because women weren't funny and there were no funny women. And I'm sure we've all had a lot of people in our industry and work in events and production and marketing. We've all had those light bulb moments. And I think that was mine. It was like, I don't believe you. They're there. They're just not visible. So I challenged him and said, look, I don't agree with you. Let me run some female comedy events. Anyway, fast forward slightly because the person I originally worked with left the company, the promoters company, and I was left with the main misogynist, and we basically had a falling out. I left, but I thought the name of Funny Women is too good to let go. So I registered it and I nurtured it for a couple of years. And then we eventually, I managed to come up with this first event, which was a big charity night in London, lots of well-known women. And then from there, we were fortunate to be introduced to Babycham, which was a brand owned by a drinks company called, it was Matthew Clark. They still exist, but the brand was bought out by another company sort of a few years later. But Babycham, that iconic, wonderful Perry drink with the little Bambi, became our first sponsors and helped me launch the awards. They wanted specifically to support my wish to bring more new talent through into female comedy. At the time, it was mainly stage stuff. It was all focused on the stand-up scene. As you know, it's expanded now, but it was it was brilliant. We had so much fun. I loved working with it was men, actually, lovely men that I worked with at Babycham. We had them on board for 3 years. So the first 3 years of the awards, we worked with them. We've had various sponsors and partners since. And we went from that very first awards in 2003. So next year we will have run the awards for 20 years. We had, I think we scraped about 70 women to enter. And now for the last 2 years, it's been fairly consistent. We have about 1,500 women engaged with the awards across 5 different awards, some of which they self-nominate themselves for, they enter themselves. There's a public vote on a content creation award, and then there's an industry vote where I lobby people in the industry to vote for very specific things. And there's a lot of women in the industry who are behind the scenes who don't necessarily, I suppose a bit like me, wouldn't necessarily enter themselves for an award. So we get the industry to nominate them. And we had a brilliant winner this year, and Amy Annette, who is truly amazing because she does a lot of work behind the scenes. She does a bit of everything. So that award is really special. and it's great for engagement with across the industry, much like you do with your awards. You have lots of different people involved, so it's really good for me to get the producers and the commissioners and all the back engine people to nominate who they think deserves to have an award, sort of unsung hero type award, really.
So for the actual comedy awards, then anyone can enter this, presumably.
Yes, yeah. So the whole basis of the Funny Women Awards is new talent. We're always looking for new, fresh voices, whatever age, culture, ethnicity, class background, ability. You know, the only criteria is that you are female or you live as a woman. So we non-binary. That area.
You have to be funny, presumably.
And funny does help. Yes. And historically, you know, the award that everyone's aware of is the stage award, because it's the one which we put on the stage, as its name suggests, and it's usually a performer. So actually this year we've broken the mold a little bit, because it was won by Lorna Rose Treen, who is a character act, actually. And we haven't had a character act win for a few years. We have had them in the past. She's so funny, and the character she did for the stage award was at complete odds with the character that she did for the Comedy Shorts Award, which is the short film award, which also won. So she was a double winner. So she had, and I was sitting next to somebody who said they didn't even realize it was the same person. So isn't that fantastic? She's a true talent. So yeah, but we had many stand-ups. So, you know, people like Catherine Ryan has won it in the past, Desiree Birch, Zoe Lyons, trying to think of the ones that become really super famous, Jade Adams, who's just been on Strictly. So they're
so this is a
winners.
massive platform, isn't it?
And then lots of, if you look at our Hall of Fame on the website, there will be lots of names you recognize in those final lineups, because quite often the women that get into the final go on to have fantastic glittering careers, because it's a very well-known showcase in our industry, and we always attract all the key players in you know, come into the audience, and they, you know, a lot of them, quite for the last few years, a lot of them have walked away with a sort of management deal pretty much within days of the final. And we don't run a management company. So I only act as an agent if I'm booking. So I don't get involved in managing their careers. I have enough trouble managing my own career, let alone somebody else. There you go.
And your ceremony is very much a show, isn't it? It's actually a comedy show.
Yeah, it is a comedy show. It's exactly what it is.
Talk us for a bit about that. What happens on the night?
So we've been in various places, but we currently reside at the Bloomsbury Theatre, which is great. It's a UCL run building, 600-seat theatre, beautiful, lovely big screen, lovely wonderful wide stage, good vistas, and we put on a comedy show. So we have usually, I think we had 10 acts this year. The last couple of years we had 10 acts who all perform, and then we dish out the rest of the awards at the end of the show. It's always a bit of a trying to squeeze it all in. It's always good. And then as a sort of Brucey bonus that's come out of COVID and everyone's desire to put things online, we work very closely with a comedy streaming partner who are also like the Netflix of comedy. They're called Next Up Comedy. Totally recommend them, not just because we work with them, but if you are a comedy fan, the subscription is very inexpensive. And I think if you go to our website, we'll have an article up at some point. There is currently a deal, and you can get it cheaper, and you can watch loads of exclusive comedy content on their platform. And our full final from this year and from last year are all there for you to see. So if you missed seeing it this year and you're interested in entering next year and you want to see what the caliber is, I would totally recommend that you log on and Next Up Comedy and watch it.
Brilliant. So let's talk about Lynne Parker, the entrepreneur. So you have the Funny Women Awards and you're really passionate about supporting females in comedy, but that isn't just the only thing you do. You also run courses and go into corporate. So talk me through a little bit about that as well.
So of comedy, the sort of thing, because we're a not-for-profit company, we're not specifically commercializing the awards, because it has to be open access. It has to be everyone can enter. And I think it fits with our ethos that we are a CIC, a community interest company. I don't want us to be a charity. There are lots of amazing charities and we can support whoever we want. So that's our preference work-wise. But because of our remit, it's very important to us to bring income into the company from sponsorship, funding. Obviously, we've had some funding from the Arts Council as a result of COVID. I'd like to say it was because we're so wonderful, but it was the Culture Recovery Fund. So it's the first time we've ever got any funding, any kind of cultural funding. We've had quite a lot of support also from our council, because I'm based in Medway, and we have a very good cultural remit here. So they funded a few things for us. And then we've got, so what we've done is we've built up our corporate business as another way of supporting not-for-profit side. And also that came out of the fact that we were running courses and workshops, and people were coming to them and saying, this is really great, will you run these in our company? So that's how I got into running workshops for organizations. Originally, when I started doing it, I think I'd have to change everything, but I pretty much do the same sort of thing, whether I'm doing a comedy workshop for public or companies that want to improve the confidence of the performance skills and confidence of their employees.
That's a great string to your
bow. It's great. And I do love it. I mean, we primarily seem to work with female workforces, but I do quite like it when we actually do work in mixed groups, and it's become more common now for me to go into a company and work with a kind of 50-50, which is great. And I think men are really, on my experiences, they're usually brilliant advocates for the women in their workplaces, the kind of companies I go into anyway. And I've found them to be very supportive, and it's great when you have a team that's got a really good mix and they all work together. But anyway, that's my little world, but I'm sure that there are lots of people out there thinking that doesn't happen in my company, but I think it can. If it's handled the right way. I mean, there are a zillion training courses and people doing confidence building and sales training and God knows what. But I think my specific skill is getting people to mix up together, talk together, listen to each other, create together. I think what we do, and you've done Stand Up, Stand Out, it is very much a creatively based module. It's not, I don't want people to come with loads of notes. I don't let people write anything down. They all freak out. Oh, can't I have my notebook? No, you got to try and remember it all in your head. That's the whole ethos, isn't it, of stand up? They're brilliant skills to have if you've got to do a lot of public speaking, or even to do this kind of thing. You know, you've got to have your script in your head, not on a notepad somewhere at the bottom of your handbag. You know, so I know we all do, but you know.
So let's talk a bit about Stand Up to Stand Out and the comedy course that you run as a sort of a progression from that.
Well, they sit alongside, really. Stand Up, Stand Out is the in-person workshop. So that's my 2-hour accelerator for anyone that wants to find a way to tap into their funny bones and create some content. And that content could be literally from a stand-up routine to having to do a TED style talk. You know, it's the start point. And you've done it, so you know I take people through. I always call it mining your own brain. You know, what's up there already. And you know, I also believe that everybody is funny. I've got this divine belief in humankind that everybody is funny in some way, even if they don't think they are. And I think we do a pretty good job. in those sessions of finding the funny in pretty much everybody. And I think if you listen and you share and you explore through the exercises that I run, then you normally get something out of it, even if it's a tiny little nugget. You know, it doesn't have to be the biggest thing. I seem to remember you and I had a whole chat about eyesight and eye line, because I have a habit of blinking and looking up. You said you always look up.
Yeah, I do.
It's a little thing like that. The minute you become aware of it,
I know.
you either become aware of it and try not to do it, or you work with it.
I know. And I do it on the podcast as well.
We all do it. We're probably doing it now. You and I.
Got all sorts
of looking up to the heavens.
Exactly. But I think what I got from it was a great bunch of women. None of us knew each other really. I knew one other person that was there. And we all got to share a little facts about ourselves, which was really interesting. And then further down the line, we did our own little 2 minutes routines, which was really good. And it was really entertaining. And actually, you had some women on that course that I think will be the future stand-up comedian.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen the start of quite a few careers. You know, I won't disclose who, but there have been people that have literally started in my workshops. And a couple of I don't think I did one of the exercises that it depends who's in the room actually as well. Sometimes I that's the other thing about comedy and working as a creative artist. I think you have to be flexible. I never know who I'm going to get in the room, and they, like you said, mostly don't know each other, although I think you knew one of them quite well. But actually sometimes, do you know what, sometimes that's even harder, because if you know somebody quite well, you've got to remember that nobody else in the room knows that person, so you've got to still treat everybody like it's a level playing field. And the fun is in the room, it's created in the room, and it's not the stuff that you think is going to be funny quite often. It will be something quite unexpected. I keep thinking the time you did with us, that woman that said she thought she wanted to be Maid Marian, that is really stuck in my head.
Yes. For me, the lady that talked about the fact that she liked to have a starter when she goes for a meal because she doesn't eat desserts.
Yes.
But she went into such minute detail about it that it was very funny, because I related to that, because I don't eat desserts either. And it's funny how a group of people can almost like really affect your food decisions, because they make you feel bad for wanting a starter.
You know, if you put this in a business context, or any kind of context where you're trying to sell to people or present to people, and if you look at great comedians, most of what they talk about is totally and utterly relatable. You know, it's got to be something. My darling husband, who is the oracle on most things like this, who is in the music industry, he uses the analogy quite rightly, because I usually moan, oh, why has Adele sell so many records, or Taylor Swift or whatever, and he then goes, listen to the lyrics, listen to the words. She is telling everybody's story. And if you relate that to Miranda Hart, or Sarah Millican pops up, the late great Victoria Wood, Michael McIntyre, you know, they all talk about things that are very experience based. We can all relate to the things that they're talking about. Peter Kay, who's been off the scene for a while, he's like a rock star of comedy, and I don't know if you've ever seen him live.
I have.
And if you go to see him live and he doesn't do certain routines, it's like your favorite record, isn't it? You know, why is he doing the bit about the dad dancing,
or the garlic bread
or garlic bread, you know? Absolutely. And that's what people pay to go and see. That's why they pay so much money. So any kind of entertainment, whether it be comedy or music or spoken word, or, you know, a bit of classical music, you go and see something classical, I want to hear Mozart and Chopin because I know it, you know. You want to see that. It's about being in the moment, and comedy is no different. And great public speakers or orators, or, you know, I was going to say politicians, but maybe we leave them out of it at the moment.
I don't know, Matt Hancock seems to have bucked the trend there with his sometimes comedic performances in I'm a Celebrity.
Much as I dislike the gentleman concerned and what he's doing, and I have no time for him generally, I do get the whole premise of why he did that, because it's about him being seen as relatable. It's back to that, isn't it? Look, I'm just the same as you, I'm going to eat a kangaroo penis because I'm like you, I can do this. I can cheat on my wife.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's not go there.
Kind of drew us into a world where he just wanted to show, like you've said, that he was like everybody else. But there were moments when I was a bit. I've never watched the series before in all the years.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And I watched it this year because he was in it, and I wanted to see what happened. But actually, I thought how well they all got on. And actually, one of the comedians in that series was Sean. I can't remember his surname, but I thought he was very funny, very dry sense of humor. So I think, we need to have more humor in business, really, because
absolutely.
it can be tiresome and it can be very dry and very dull. And I think what you bring to the table is something very different. And that's one of the reasons I went on the Stand Up, Stand Out. Not necessarily because I want to be a stand-up comedian. No,
absolutely. Not everyone wants to be.
Just to do something different from my everyday business presenting, business career, if you like, because it can be a bit dull. So I would really recommend anyone just to come out of their comfort zone for a few hours. Great company, lovely venue, the Groucho Club.
Oh, it's gorgeous, isn't it? It's super.
And, it was a really nice way to obviously get to know you better and to get a window into that world, really, because I didn't know until I came on the course how many women's careers that you really have been responsible for propelling. And there are a lot of them.
Yeah, I think it's nice to be recognized in that way, because quite often these women do very well, and we're lost in the ether. We're just a mere stepping stone, as I'm sure that happens to you with your awards as well. I think it is a function of running awards that people are going to forget about it.
And I think you're right.
But it's nice when we as awards people that run awards recognize that of each other. I mean, the fun at work thing, as you know, I've extended that now into a rework of some events we used to run pre-COVID, where we'd have a mix of workshops, panel discussion, and stand-up comedy. We've rebranded those as How to Have Fun at Work, and we've done our first post-COVID event this year at Grey Advertising. Fabulous, great event. What a beautiful venue. I usually blag a fantastic venue from someone and then we put on the whole thing, but we run that as a kind of showcase so that corporates can come and see what we have on offer in terms of our organization and the kind of people we employ as facilitators, because I can't do everything myself. I have to use some people.
You're right.
But that whole thing, I'm doing another one next year on the 23rd of May. And I have my podcast as well, which is that's why we decided to call the events How to Have Fun at Work, because that's the name of my podcast. So
brilliant. So if you're listening,
and it is that fusion between comedy and work, because I always have a business person and a comedian on the podcast. So
great. So how to have fun at
work.
And then just before we end, so I thought it'd be useful. So you've won awards yourself as well along the way. So awards do surround you, and I think it's been quite important, hasn't it, for you over the years?
Yeah. I mean, I think when you run awards yourself, you're less likely to enter them, because you feel a bit of a fraud, and on the occasions when I have entered things and I've thought there's no way there's no way they're going to give this award to me. I know they're not. And I've been right largely. But I did when I moved down to Kent, North Kent, where I am in Medway. I moved down nearly 8 years ago, so 2015. And I was encouraged to enter a couple of business awards down here. And in fact, we won the Creative Business of the Year in the Independent Business Awards Kent.
Oh wow!
That was in 2017, and I think that was lovely. And I have also, hot off the press, I'm about to be the North Kent lead for the Federation of Small Business. It's invited to take over. It's a volunteer position. It's to represent small businesses here in my part of Kent. I don't know where North and South divide actually is. Around Ashford, I'm told. Kent is huge. I mean, it's the hugest. I think it's the second largest county. So, you know, it needs a goodly number of us. But I have also hosted, in my performing capacity, I have hosted the Southeast FSB Awards as well. So, and I love doing that, and I'm available for hire if anyone wants me. I'm not a comedian though, but I am quite funny when I'm allowed to be.
You're allowed to be. Yeah. Amazing. Well, if you are listening to the show today and you want to ignite your funny bones, go over to Lynne's website. We'll make sure all the details are in the show notes and also on the YouTube channel if you're watching this on YouTube, where we'll drop the links for Funny Women and details about their awards, which open next year. And, you know, if you feel that you are funny and you want to put yourself forward, like Lynne said, it's open to anyone. The criteria is female.
Yeah.
Or identifying as female, and you must be funny.
It's all the instructions are really clear. It is really aimed at new acts for the stage award. So
fantastic. And then if you'd like to do a course, or you might want to bring Lynne into your company, we'll also make sure all the details are there as well. Having done the stand up to stand out, it was a great morning, and I would really recommend it. And thank you for joining me today and sharing all about your awards and your journey. It's been incredible, and I wish you every success. Continue.
Thank you very much, Debbie.
Thank you, Lynne.